And hello, is this thing on? Let's see. Audio check. Can't tell. We're just going to run with it. Actually, let me check my phone. 1 minute. Okay, we'll just give this a try for a minute, see if I can get audio working. And apologize. This is an improvised studio. Profile. How can I tell? And I don't even know how I can see chat anymore. Okay, we have audio. Okay, so with that, good morning. It is Friday, June 14th, episode 124, and we are live from the Volcano studio in Berlin, El Salvador. And let me just make sure I can see what I'm streaming here. There we go. I didn't have time to get my vMix set up, as you can probably tell, so we are just going to run with it. So, ask questions. I don't even know how to tell where my comments are coming in. I apologize. So let's try some comments, see if they show up. Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. I will see if I can get them to appear in Restream. Where are they? Chat. There's chat. Okay. Hola, Mo. ¿Cómo está? Buen día. Okay, so Mo can hear me. Good. We have audio. So ask a question. I finally found the chat, so that was an accomplishment. And as Dwight says, question. Does anyone have a question? And post in the chat. We'll talk about it. I have a few questions of my own that hopefully some of you can answer. I am curious to get your feedback. So, weekly projects. Oh my gosh, did I forget to populate this slide? Oh, no. Apparently I did. It just has animation. So, ERP Center of Excellence training in Berlin, El Salvador, of course. You probably know that. Proyectos Semanales. And, okay, apparently I drafted a grant proposal with the idea of exploring whether we could have a career center coordinator here in the Berlin Community Center who would help with career skills, starting with typing, American accent to improve English pronunciation, things like resume formatting, job interview preparation. A lot of jobs these days are remote. They're over, say, a Teams meeting or a Zoom call. So that's a different skill. And so practicing how you interview for different types of employers or different types of jobs, I think that could be valuable. So just some of those base fundamental career skills. And then if we're going to continue offering Business Central and ERP and consultant-oriented training, then we could have the Career Center assist with that. And we're exploring 2 new services that would be oriented towards Business Central partners, perhaps in the United States. So we're looking on building those into products and services that could be offered from Berlin, El Salvador, which is pretty exciting. It's pretty crazy thought, but we have some interesting ideas. We don't know if they'll fly, but it's something that we can do to have these students learn. They will build in the process. They won't just learn Business Central. They won't just learn how to enter a transaction or how to configure or load data. They'll actually be building products and services. So that's pretty exciting and unique opportunity for someone who's just learning Business Central. And on Monday, lunes, I, for the first time, explored the Microsoft 365 admin role and environment security groups. So I went into Microsoft 365 Admin Center and I went into Admin Center Access and I granted Admin Center access to some of these students so that we could explore BC Admin Center. So this is the first time I've done that. Thank you to Shannon Mullins for pointing me to the Admin Center. It's like additional security roles. You have to expand and scroll down 3 pages to find Dynamics 365 Business Central Administrator. And with that one checkbox, that appears to grant the 365/Entra user access to BC Admin Center. So that was simpler than I expected. And Also, the other thing I did for the first time is in BC Admin Center, I selected the security groups, the 365 Admin Center security groups. I selected them for each environment. So this way, if I'm teaching the Berlin El Salvador team, I can give them access to certain environments. Or if I'm working with the tech fluent students or graduates in the United States, I can give them access to only specific environments. So that was the first time I'd done that. So if you have not done that, check it out. It's pretty simple. The things I noticed were that often in the changes I made, sometimes it was relatively quick, sometimes it took several minutes or hours to take effect. So I'm not quite sure what the timing is or how to make things happen immediately, but some changes did not take effect immediately, specifically the security group on the environment. And then, as part of the ERP Center of Excellence training, we were dealing with some illness between the three of us. So we adjusted our schedule, did some impromptu training. We actually dove into BC telemetry and application insights, which was pretty cool. So the students got to see an error dialogue occur in Business Central, and then within minutes, it showed up in App Insights or in telemetry. So they saw that, they understood the purpose, and that was a pretty cool kind of exploration that we did. Tuesday, martes, ERP Center of Excellence. We dug into BC Admin Center now that they had access. And we talked a lot about the logistics required for next minor and next major testing. And so we discussed what are the challenges of that? How do customers and users deal with that? If there's a breaking change, if there's a feature rolling out, new pricing, everyone's favorite topic, right? Things like that. And I guess Tanya pointed out there was a change in the bank journals. There's a new field and it's causing all sorts of problems, surprisingly. So just little things like that. We intuitively understand that that's going to happen, but how do we deal with it in a organized, consistent, repeatable, low-cost fashion? I don't know of a way yet. So that's one of my questions to you. So post a question in the chat and let me know. Okay. On Wednesday, miércoles, we had a customer call regarding I won't say elaborate or overly complex, but a moderately involved AR payment application and adjustment customization for their business process. And they have a situation where they regularly have overpayments, underpayments for all sorts of reasons. And it's not just the customer short paying. It's maybe some fee was off, or maybe they didn't charge the surcharge, and they have to account for all of this stuff down to even a $3 adjustment. They can't just write it off or ignore it or deal with it. So it's moderately involved. So how can we create the discussion was about a GP or a BC customization that we could do to help automate that, streamline that, reduce the level of effort required to deal with those adjustments on the receivable side. And then Wednesday afternoon, I spent several hours getting a Unify network set up. So one of the things that I brought here to help support the center and the ERP Center of Excellence in this office is Unify Network. So we have a Unify Cloud Key, Unify Cloud Key, I think is what it's called. I brought some PoE switches, and those we ran some Ethernet, and those are going to support Unify access points so that we can have wireless access points throughout the different concrete rooms to get better signal. And we will also have some VLANs. So Unify access points and SSIDs, they automatically set up VLANs for you. And then we can have some VLANs for the switched Ethernet wiring as well. So I just started that process on Wednesday. It was shockingly time consuming, given that the hardware needed multiple sequential firmware updates to get up to date. So it was a little flaky, but I got the cloud key and this one switch updated, but I now know what I'm in for updating the other components. It was a surprising amount of work. And educational opportunities. Once again, Jeremy is stepping up with another one of his workshops. The warehousing workshop is still coming up, but he has another one around thinking BC test app strategies. And this is relevant for all of us. We talk about automated testing, but the biggest challenge we have internally is, okay, what do we test? And like, why are we testing this? If the test is create a record and see if it wrote to the database, like, is that valuable? Like, is there a chance that AL is not going to be able to write to a table? And maybe there's a bad field value. I don't know, but it just seems like when we're creating these tests, we're creating tests for the test's sake, not for the functional properties and testing of user errors in the application. And it's challenging. So I'm curious to attend Jeremy's workshop to say, okay, we create a custom page and it writes to a custom table. What are we really testing? Are we testing the fundamentals of writing to that table? Are we testing field validation? Well, I have learned that it is impossible for me to anticipate the zany things that users are going to enter into a field. Maybe I test for, is it too long? Is it alphabetical? Is it numeric? Is it alphanumeric? But what if they do a -1? Does that cause a problem? And like, I can't imagine testing for all of those possibilities. So where do we draw the line? So for now, what we've been doing is we do a test app, we do at least one basic test. Does this work? And then we wait for the user to do their zany things. And then we add in the test to account for those conditions that may break the app or cause an error. So I'm curious to attend Jeremy's workshop. It's June 24th and June 27th, 9 a.m. Eastern Time US, 1 p.m. Eastern Time US. So head on over there, sign up for the workshop. It's only an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it's only €100. It's not a huge investment. So pop into the workshop and join us to learn about test strategies. Okay. And once again, Tech Fluent. I am now working with 4 Business Central training candidates. They are graduates of Tech Fluent, and I am trying to figure out how to do training sessions with them. I'm taking the ERP Center of Excellence content, sending it to them, trying to give them exercises while I am here and I don't have time to have calls. But if anyone is interested in just doing a lesson with them, it could just be a 30-minute, 1-hour lesson, pick a topic, this Business Central feature, do a couple slides, talk about it, and then have them do some homework exercises, drills, whatever, to continue that learning. So if anyone is interested in helping out with that, just send me a slide deck, schedule a call, and you can help out with that. That would be great. Upcoming events, próximos eventos. Once again, we have Tech Bayanahan in Manila, Philippines in August, Days of Knowledge Americas in Atlanta, Georgia in September, Summit North America in October in San Antonio. I will be presenting there with Silvio. And Directions EMEA 2024, November in Vienna, is still accepting calls for speaker session submissions. So head on over to Sessionize and submit a topic for a session. And the tool of the week. This is always challenging for me to find these tools, but the tool of the week is Unify Networking. And it is, I've forgotten how cool it is. I don't normally poke into my configuration for my Unify network at home, but it's pretty advanced, pretty fancy what they have. So if you're looking to step up your game from your home ISP router, and you don't mind wasting a lot of time configuring this stuff, this is the Cloud Key. This is the older Cloud Key Plus, whatever it's called. But really cool. Once you just plug in the device, it's automatically detects it, it adopts it. You can see which ports on the physical PoE switch are used. You can set up VLANs for your SSIDs. You have an automatic guest network that's isolated. So really impressive. I'd kind of forgotten how many features are available. And I do not have coffee with me. I apologize. So water is going to have to do. And what's next? Thursday, Jueves. Luis Rivas, he is a photographer and videographer in El Salvador here. He came down from San Salvador. Took the bus at like 5 a.m. to go from San Salvador up to Berlin, and I picked him up in the morning. We had some breakfast. He is here to document and photograph and video the ERP Center of Excellence program and the students, basically the training program that we're doing here in Berlin at the Berlin Community Center and the Career Center here. So very cool. So I've hired him to come out, document our progress, what we're doing, how it's supporting the community, how it's helping the people of Berlin, have different and hopefully better career prospects. No pressure, Steve. And so, yeah. And then on Thursday, we did a BC training session in the afternoon. And during that, we talked about the sales business process. So we covered everything from a sales quote all the way through the order, fulfillment, shipping, warehouse, invoicing, credit memos, the whole bit. And we actually sidetracked on inventory and warehouse management, which I'll kind of explain later. But yeah, that's Luis. And there we are sitting at Patty's Cafe, Create Dos, where she has her art on display. Okay, what is next? And of course, today, Friday, this morning, I'm doing the live stream. I have I believe a 10:30 a.m. morning class with Jocelyn. And then once that is done, I'm going to see if I can recover my deleted Microsoft Business Solutions partner account. We attempted to log in to generate a new Business Central license for our Docker containers, our app source development, things like that. And we couldn't log in. You're not authorized. I contact the email address. They say, "Oh, your account's deleted. Thank you for your request. I hope I've satisfied your need. Have a good day." And that's it. And I asked why, and they're like, "I don't know. We've terminated your partner agreement and deleted your account. So if you have a problem with this, you need to call someone else." So for this second time, we have had our partner account deleted by Microsoft out of the blue. No warning, no notifications. It's not like, I don't think an agreement expired. So last time it took 9 weeks to recover our account. We'll see how long it takes this time. It seems to be a little faster. I was sent a new agreement for some reason, had to refill out this agreement and resubmit it. So we'll see what happens. So if you are heavily reliant upon your Microsoft partner account, which most partners are, word of caution. Okay. And then this afternoon, I have another Business Central training class separately with David. So we will be covering, I'm not quite sure what we're talking about today. I'll have to look at the schedule, but it is a busy day on Friday at the end of the week. And the excellence update. So while we're talking about sales business process last night, David kind of buried the lead on me here. He just casually mentioned that he uses Salesforce and SAP in his current job. So he is a Salesforce and SAP end user, and he is managing the repair and service and replacement operations for a global consumer electronic manufacturer, and he handles all of North America. So if you're in the United States and you're in Canada and you need this electronic part that you bought at Best Buy or wherever, there's a problem. He will either figure out what part you need and roll a technician to your house for replacement or however that works, or he will actually ship a replacement product. And he is one of two people to manage those North American operations. And to manage that, he uses SAP and Salesforce. So pretty crazy. And he also has worked in a massive distribution center in the US for a national US retailer that every American would have heard of. So he knows how a huge distribution center works with the 30 trucks lined up at every bay, and they are doing national distribution throughout the United States through that big hub. So incredible experience that he just didn't mention until last night. So we talked about that, and we got into all the intricacies and quirks of large warehouse operations. of which he knows far more than me. So pretty impressive. And then crazy story. Jocelyn is the other student here while I'm in Berlin. And she says, "Hey, Steve, I talked to my brother and mentioned we're doing Microsoft Dynamics training. And he just casually mentioned that he's used Business Central before." And I was like, "No, I'm sure it's some other Dynamics products. He just heard Dynamics and he's using CRM, for instance." She says, "No, he specifically mentioned Business Central before I said anything." And I thought, you're kidding me. That, like, really? How's that possible? Turns out that I met him last night. He has used Business Central. He's like, "Yeah, I've got Microsoft Authenticator on my phone." And he was the person that a major US retailer called. So he worked for the major corporation, and they had a sales division in the United States that used Business Central. And he would often have to connect to their Business Central environment in order to help them troubleshoot sales orders, returns, credit memos, debit memos, things like that, and reconcile orders and figure out shipping issues. And so he was essentially their kind of informal ERP support. So he had to help them in Business Central. It wasn't really his job per se, but when they're dealing with the order reconciliation, it was just easier for him to connect to the BC tenant and figure out what's going on. So absolutely mind blowing. I'm in this town of less than 20,000 people on a volcano in El Salvador, and here strolls in a guy who's used Business Central. So absolutely wild set of circumstances here. Okay. And El fin de semana, the weekend, we have a Saturday afternoon class with David and Jocelyn, and they are going to do some presentations on a BC feature. So pick a feature we talked about, just randomly dig through BC and pick something and research it and present on it. And yeah, that will teach them a BC feature. They'll learn how to present and teach it on their own, and do public speaking presentation practice. And that's part of the learning of the program. So, and then if I can get some free time, I'm actually going to try to get in here, get set up, and do the green screen setup, get some lighting, see if I can get vMix to work, get the Sony camera plugged in. I was going to try to do it this week. I just have been working 8 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. on training and then catching up on work. So it's been pretty crazy. So I'm going to try to get some rest this weekend. So with that, any final questions? My questions to you are, if you're a partner, do you advise your customers to test their ISV solutions or app source apps, any PTEs or customizations they have, and their overall standard business processes in Business Central in a sandbox for each new Business Central release, which, if they're testing next minor, is monthly, right? If you're only testing next major, that's every 6 months. But as a partner, do you advise your customers to do this? Test all your major business processes, your sales orders, your quotes, your invoicing, your purchase invoices, issuing payments, right? It's a long list of stuff. And maybe they could do it in under an hour, maybe under 30 minutes, depending on the role, the task, the process, the people. But there's a lot going on. And what about integrations? Really hard to test integrations and things like that are normally pointing to production. So it's not trivial. And then customers, does your partner advise you to do this testing and processes in a sandbox for each new release? And then the $1 million question that leads to, does anyone actually do this testing? How? Like, do you have written procedures, checklists? And for those of you who say, yeah, we do it. Really? Do you do it? Do you have a checklist and make sure you did it? Or is it like, yeah, I logged in, I checked it, it looks good, and yeah, I spent 5 minutes doing it? And how rigorous is it? And I guess it depends on what the consequence is, right? If you find out you can't do a bank journal anymore because some field changed and your procedures say to use this field instead of that field, and it affects your bank rec, well, is that a big deal? Is that minor? Can you wait a month to deal with that in case there's a hot fix? That is my question, right? And this came out of the discussions here where we talked about BC Admin Center. We saw the current prod version. We saw a sandbox with 24.1, and then we saw a new sandbox. We get 24.2. So in my test environment we're training in, we have three versions, 24.0, 0.1, and point 0.2. And it's like, well, wait a minute. It makes it kind of hard to test and kind of hard to keep a consistent environment. So potentially not trivial what's going on there. Okay, so with that, thank you for joining episode 124. Have a great weekend, and yeah, go learn something. Okay, let me wrap this up, figure out how. Here we go. And let's cue some music. Man, this is cumbersome. Okay, here we go. Adios.